President Obama tries to reassure the American people as security is stepped up at U.S. airports. More checks are in place following the failed attempt to bring down a transatlantic airliner bound for Detroit.
Full investigation has been launched into this attempted act of terrorism, and we will not rest until we find all who were involved and hold them accountable.
Here, the government makes a final appeal to try to stop China executing this British man in a few hours' time. And in sport, a century from Alastair Cook helps England to a 43-run lead in the second test against South Africa. Hello, good evening. President Obama says the US will not rest until all the people responsible for the failed attempt to bring down a transatlantic plane are held accountable. In his first public comments about the incident, the president announced an immediate review of US anti-terrorism measures. He was speaking shortly after a regional wing of Al-Qaeda said it was behind the attempt. Andy Gallagher is in Detroit tonight. Andy.
Well, as travellers here are getting used to tougher new security measures, President Obama has now promised that the US won't rest until those behind the alleged plot have been brought to justice. Abdul Muttalib himself is still inside a federal prison here, but Al-Qaeda are now claiming that they were behind the plot.
The shockwaves are still being felt across the world. If the bomb that authorities here say that Omar Farouk Abdul Muttalib was carrying had gone off, this would have been a very different story. And tonight, an Al-Qaeda affiliate in Yemen has claimed responsibility for the attack. The group released this photo, which they say shows Abdul Muttalib. The 23-year-old Nigerian has told investigators that he received explosives and training in Yemen. Here, President Obama did his best to reassure the American public. He's promised a full review of air security and says his administration will pursue those behind the alleged attack.
We do not yet have all the answers about this latest attempt, but those who would slaughter innocent men, women, and children must know that the United States will do more than simply strengthen our defenses. We will continue to use every element of our national power to disrupt, to dismantle, and defeat the violent extremists who threaten us.
But a full review of America's security procedures might not be enough to avoid some tough questions about what went wrong. Yesterday, America's Homeland Security Secretary claimed that the system had in part worked, but she's since backtracked.
I don't think any Secretary of Homeland Security would sit before you and say she was happy that someone got aboard a U.S.-bound air carrier, as this individual did, carrying the material that this individual was carrying. So we have a lot of work to do.
And for these travellers at Manchester Airport, a simple message: arrive early and expect delays.
I think they need to do more screening before people actually get on, and actually try and categorise people into high risk and low risk.
I think they are doing the right thing. I believe I'm really in support of what you're doing, despite the fact that it's going to cause delay for innocent people. But everybody just have to go through that.
I think it's necessary, but I think it's obviously causes delays, but it's obviously a national thing, isn't it? You know, security-wise, I think we're better off safer than we are, you know, letting the terrorists do what they want to do.
At Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport, which Abdul Muttalib passed through on his way to Detroit, a new plan to beef up security. It seems clear now that Abdul Muttalib was known to the authorities on both sides of the Atlantic. The warning signs then were there, but despite that, he was still allowed to board a flight to America, allegedly carrying high explosives.
This is now an international investigation that's bound to have wide-ranging consequences. It seems that from now on, air travel for all of us will change drastically.
Andy, thank you. Andy Gallagher there.